Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of the Fintech Hunting Podcast. We have a very special guest for you today. He's an industry thought leader, a fintech expert, an AI evangelist. Please help me welcome back to the show Tim Nguyen, co-founder and CEO of BeSmartee and Ask Bob. Tim, welcome back. It's great to see you.
Hey, Mike. Good to see you. Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year to you too. So, we're in 2025. Everyone was expecting, the market would turn, this would happen. Kind of where do you see the current market conditions and kind of how are you reading? You always give great insight to what you think is going to play out this year in 2025.
Yeah, I remember what was it, August last year. People were all hyped up. It's going to be a 6.5% rate market, maybe even better in 2025. Let's ramp up. Things are going to be great. And that didn't happen, right? And we don't see any signs of that happening. Rates are going to be, directionally, I think it's moving in the right direction, but it's going to be slower.
Yep.
Fannie released their new MBA released their new rate forecast, right? It's going to be a lot higher than 6.5%. So I think from a long-term direction perspective, the positive thing is we're at least know we're directionally correct. And I think
Right.
that's all we can ask for right now, right? The last 2, 3 years, it's been just volatile. Can I buy? Should I buy? Can I hire? Should I get that big lease? Those decisions, at least now we know directionally again where we're going and we can make better decisions, long-term decisions, and really think in terms of quarters and years and not months. Now, interestingly, though, right, I think the last 3 days or so, rate has been like 1 basis point up, 1 basis point down. I don't mind that at all. Just stability, predictability, non-volatility. I think that's all we can ask for right now. And I'll call this, I haven't heard this word before in a while, but I'll call it the new normal. It's what we got to work with. There's still 5
So,
million transactions to be done, both, purchase and refi. Let's just, focus our nuts and bolts fundamentals, go out there, compete. And I think if we have that mindset and realize that this is the new normal, we'll make different decisions, right? We'll have a different mindset walking into this year and execution this year.
so let's talk about that. The new normal, and I agree with you. I think you always give such a great outlook of we're not going to probably have this huge refi boom this year. Rates are, somewhat stable, but they're not going to lower significantly. So we've got to get to this new normal. And what is the first step that lenders have to start realizing if they're going to get in this new normal? Does that mean greater operational efficiency? Where should they be focusing their efforts? Give me some insights on that front.
First and foremost is your cost. So we use that BeSmartee actually annually. Um, my CFO, he'll compile big lists of all the expense and, allocate by department. And like, he'll go back to the department leaders and say, hey, justify this cost. And we do it every year. And every year we find significant savings or potential to negotiate terms and change things. And even when we do it in the prior years, we do it again, we still find stuff, right? Because the business is dynamic. You're adding tools and vendors and costs. So you really got to take a step back and just make sure your cost is optimized, right? You can't cut your way to a profit. Well, to a certain extent, right? You can cut your way to a profitable company, but you can't cut your way to growth.
Right.
But at least you want to control it. I think we just got to get our spend the way it should be. Challenge every metric, right? Challenge every spend. The second thing is obviously growth. In this market with the purchase market, loan officers, feet on the street loan officers drive the market. They just do. The whole NAR compensation thing really hasn't shook things up very much. We'll see, what else changes, but for now, loan officers are still your face for the relationship with the purchase community. And you need to take care of your producers, right? You need to recruit more producers. Really need to make sure that the spend on the non-producers are justified, right? Or are you paying for seats and technologies and costs and marketing and labor and support, for a negative P&L at least on an individual level. I would just keep focused on the nuts and bolts fundamentals, right? You make more money in 2 ways: by bringing in more revenue and managing your expenses. And that's really, again, nuts and bolts fundamental year for me.
Well, and I love how you say it's nuts and bolts, but it's amazing in how many lenders don't know some of those things, especially on a granular level. They don't know that certain loans that they try to produce that they don't have a lot of expertise producing are not profitable for them. Maybe they shouldn't do 2 or 3K loans because they only get a handful of them each year and they lose money on every one of them. So I love your point about, yes, it may be the nuts and bolts, but I think people have to take the time to drill down and really find out. I mean, you know it as well as I do. There's lenders who have 3, 4, 5 CRMs. They have 2, 3, 4 loan origination systems. So as
There's
we
a
start,
sorry to interrupt, Mike, but there's a old saying that I wanted to share, that my CEO coach, gave to me years ago. He said that, I forget exactly how he said it. He just said, sales basically rights all sins, right? And if you think about that, when the money is pouring in, the top line revenue is pouring in, you're going to create a lot of sin, right? You're going to make rash decisions, knee jerk decisions. Well, it doesn't matter. We got the money, we got the cash, we got the cash flow, and it's here to stay. Well, and then it's not here to stay, and then it goes away. But you're still paying for your sins from the past. These rush
right.
decisions and architect integrations and whatnot that maybe you get the value of, or maybe over architected, or maybe you just didn't execute well. But I would just remind everyone, right? When revenue's coming in, you're a genius. Every decision is beautiful, right? But it's in this time now where, okay, what do we have to actually go back and correct?
Excellent points. Talk to me about what's technology's role in all of this. Yep, you've got to look at cost. You got to do the best you can at really containing those costs, but you also have to have a growth mindset. Where does technology fit into this?
Well, so I mean, technology is critical, but I think the miss is using the technology and implementing the technology in the most effective way possible. Right? I'm not going to sit here, even as a technology, I say, hey, buy technology and solve all your woes. It won't. It
Right.
might actually burn a hole in your pocket. Oops, sorry, let me go ahead and decline this. My bad. Um, so I would go back and really challenge the way the systems are integrated and what you're trying to get out of the systems. I would go with best practices. Very often, what I see is, well, if I go with out of the box, that's not the way we do business. If I go with out of the box, I'm gonna have some gaps here, and there. Okay, that might be true. So then you go ahead and you work your vendors and multiple vendors sometimes, and you bring people into the project to accomplish this end goal. And it's a really good end goal. But the pathway to get there sometimes is very difficult, very expensive. And sometimes what I see in the mortgage space is we have a tendency to complex things that don't need to be complex.
Right.
Yes, it's a complex industry, I get it. But we will win more together, right? If we uncomplex this thing, if we simplify things. And if we go with all the best practices, maybe we should go that way. 100 other customers use it that way. Why are we any different? Is it really giving us competitive advantage, right? So, I think, I forget who it was. Someone told me one day, you can't automate a bad process, right? It's just going to exacerbate the bad process, right? And scale
Right.
the bad process. But again, simplify things. Please, let's not overly, make things overly complex. Why do you have 300 programs? Why do you have these legacy, 2 or 3K programs that you have to train people on, you have to go through, but it accounts for, 0.5% of your revenue for the year, and even maybe a negative on the P&L at the end, at the, bottom line. So just really kind of simplify things, focus on your core competencies, keep things simple. Let's not complex the world. It's already a complex business.
So let's talk. What's on the horizons for BeSmartee? What do you guys have in store for 2025?
For us, we are actually working on a new version of our software.
Okay.
So just like a mortgage company, we followed suit with our clients and we built a lot of great features, but some of it is a little complex, which means it's kind of hard to maintain, hard to kind of tweak. So we're really taking all these features we built through the years and we're, kind of rewriting it, re-architecting the system so that it can be simplified. And when it's simplified, it can go out to more people can benefit from it. So that's one of the big initiatives. The second really big initiative is what we started last year by launching the native mobile app. We have so much power in our web app I mean, an originator could live in that app and not have to even go into their LS, right, to originate loans. So we're taking those features and we're slowly pouring that over into the mobile app. Our vision ultimately, it's going to take more than a year, is, you can, as a loan officer, right, you can literally, in the palm of your hands, originate and close your loan. And you don't even have to log into a laptop, giving you
Excellent.
that mobile advantage, right? That work-life balance, that efficiency gain, no matter the time, day or week.
I
Those are really
absolutely
the
love
main
it.
things for us.
Talk to me a little bit about Ask Bob. Where's some of the things going for Ask Bob?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I wasn't expecting that. So Ask Bob is a different venture outside of BeSmartee,
Yeah.
that I co-founded with Andrew DeGood, who you know. It's essentially, what we've gotten really good at is training AI with your proprietary data. And it doesn't matter if you're a mortgage company or you sell construction materials or you're a consulting firm. But we can ingest all your data, keep it private, and train it really well. And then now that we know everything about your company, whether it's your HR policies or guidelines or inventory, whatever it may be, now that we know that, we can inject into different workflows that's necessary. The first workflow we injected that into was help desk software.
Okay.
But ultimately, I'll say this: it can be injected into Gmail, right? It can be injected in Outlook. It can be injected into a chat bot. It can be injected to the front end of your system, the back end of your system. Once we have this information, think of it like a mini Google, right? Imagine if Google, all they did was just learn about your business and read all your documents and looked at all your messages and all your programs and all your policies, right? Google would be amazing, right? It would know everything about you. You can search for things and get answers instantaneously. That's what we're doing, right? With Ask Bob, making that information, that intelligence easily accessible regardless of how and where you need to use it. Now, all that said, um, the what should I say? Things are going well. We got our first handful of customers going live with the product, and we'll see, right? But we're super
Exactly.
excited with AI. Um, it's it's not an end all be all, is what I would say. You start using it little by little, it will eventually become very dominant, and you see it all over the place now, right? But take your time, crawl before you walk, walk before you run. But you gotta start crawling, otherwise you're gonna be behind, and it is quickly becoming table stakes.
I couldn't agree more. And you and I could have a whole episode just on AI and where are some of the other impacts you see AI taking place in the lending, in the financial space? Where are some of the quick wins that people can get? Not the magic button, but some of, hey, if I'm going to start small and I got to start somewhere, where are you seeing some of the ways that they should get started in AI and lending?
I would say, selfishly, I would say what Bob is doing, Ask Bob, is a great start because you're loading it up with information and documentation you already have. And you already look at this documentation on a daily basis. Now we're going to make it much more easily retrievable. So data extraction is probably a very good use case. Then I would look at the more kind of less critical segments of the business. It could be HR, it could be marketing, it could be sales. And when I say critical, I'm not non-critical. I'm not saying it's not valuable.
Right.
I'm saying you have a little bit of wiggle room to make some mistakes. If a sales email goes out there a little bit differently than you like, well, you can correct that, right? If the HR manual needs to get updated in a little different way, you can correct that, right? It's not going in there and causing cures. That's what I mean, right? It's not making underwriting decisions yet. Now, that said, if you're really kind of excited, right, to jump all in, there are some vendors out there, bringing automation to the appraisal space. Looking at a 10, I forget the form number now, the ERLA, not the ERLA, the appraisal form, and they're, going through checks and balances, looking at photos, providing feedback, so faster for the underwriter to perform their duties, right? You also have an underwriter. There's vendors out there that we all know of that are been doing this for years. They're not, nowhere close to 100%,
Right.
in terms of loan touches, right, and complexity. But hey, if it can knock out 20, 30% of the easy stuff, cool. Just leave the harder stuff for human beings where they're going to excel at. So those are the areas I would definitely look at, right? Sales, marketing, HR, back-end functions that are non-critical in terms of costing you revenue and costing you, cures. And then I will look up another notch into um, the more critical processes like appraisal review, underwriting, etc. But that is not for the faint of heart, right? You need to have a certain mindset to go in there. Like this technology is only going to get better. And it's pretty damn good, right? And you
That's
may
right.
say it's not good enough. Fine, may not be good enough, but it will get leaps and bounds better over the next few years.
Yeah, I always like to say the AI we're using today is the worst it will ever be. It's only going to continue to get better. It's going to continue to improve. What are some of the hurdles for lenders of why are they holding off and not really diving in on AI? What's holding some of these companies back from truly embracing AI?
So it's funny. I asked Bob. We sell industry agnostic. It just so happens the first, good bunch of clients were mortgage companies because that's where Andrew and I come from. But it's really across the board. Every industry we talk to, it's the same thing. People are curious, but how do I use it? Right. And I think really the key difference is how do I use it? What are the use cases? Show me something that's simple that I could actually save 10 grand a month with,
Right.
reduce 300 hours of work with, give my people, their weekends back, right? Show me something tangible. And AI doesn't cost that much, by the way, right? If you're looking at a 5-figure plus, monthly bill for AI, you need to start looking elsewhere, especially with the new technologies out here. AI is much more cost effective than legacy enterprise technology. But I think that's the big thing is the use cases. Some of the bigger companies we talk to, they have committees and champions of AI, and their whole job. Actually, a good buddy of mine works over at Expedia. He's the only guy, a really big company. His whole job is just identify AI opportunities, and he found one that's going to save the company. Maybe I shouldn't give the exact number, but it's very significant. Think 7 figures
Wow.
on the high side, right? And that's just one implementation of an AI use case. But if you get your people out there and let them know, look, you're not gonna lose your job, but it is table stakes. It's gonna make us become superheroes here at the company. What if I can produce X? Now I can produce 5X, right? And that's what we're competing against every single day. But if you empower your people, make sure they know it's not threatening, right? Um, Find those use cases. You can't find them all. Let communities out there, let your people find these use cases, bring them up. Give us a call, ask Bob. We'll chat about it. We'll tell you what's feasible, not feasible. Maybe you got to wait 2 years to solve the problem you want to solve, right? We don't
Oh,
need to what we know until we know what the problem is.
I love it. And Tim, you are welcome back anytime. I can't believe we're almost done with this episode. But
Oh,
if
well.
people want to find out about more about BeSmartee, if they want to find out more about Ask Bob, what's the best way that they can get a hold of those organizations to find out some of these case studies, these use cases, so that they can start leaning in and really embracing the technology that they need in this new normal?
Yeah, I'll make it simple. Just email me. I'll get over to the right people. Tim@besmartee.com, BESMARTEE.com, or just Tim@askbobai.com. And I'm happy to help.
Fantastic. Tim, thank you again for being a guest on this episode of the FinTech Hunting Podcast.
Thanks, Mike.